Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Elixir Kitchen Community Connections. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I'm the wellness chef for the Cancer Rehab and Survivorship Program at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center. And we have another super exciting class for you today. Joined as always, I want to introduce you to our amazing registered dietitian, Daniela Ferini. Hello, Daniela.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you doing over there?
Very good. Ready to cook.
Well, since April is Cancer Awareness Month, we thought we would focus on cancer prevention guidelines from a nutrition perspective. In January and February, we dealt more with January, February, and March. We talked more about some symptoms you may experience if you had cancer, but right now we want to focus on the guidelines and for prevention. And our go-tos for that are the American Institute for Cancer Research, which I affectionately call ACR, and the World Cancer Research Fund. They are the originators of the guidelines that we then adopt through Cancer Care Ontario, the Canadian Cancer Society, the American Cancer Society. And so our focus today is going to be on upping our fiber and whole grain intake, moving toward a more plant-based, plant-forward diet, and then a little bit more about phytonutrients and antioxidants and what that's all about. So the recipes Jeremy has created for us today, always magnificent. The first one is going to be a spring herb salad with pita. The second is butter beans and chard soup. And the third is a wonderful blueberry coconut red lentil pancakes. So for our first recipe, this fresh and beautiful salad is not only rich in flavor, but it's also rich in fiber. And research shows that fiber has many health protective benefits. So it can keep our bowels moving. So it's good if you have either diarrhea or constipation. It feeds the friendly bacteria in our intestine. And if that's not enough, fiber can help stabilize blood sugar. So that's good if you have trouble with blood sugars like type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And it's also can bind to cholesterol. So it's good for heart health. That's more of the soluble fiber. Cancer prevention guidelines actually tell us to have 25 grams per day for women, 38 grams per day for men. But in Canada, we seem to be measuring around 15 grams per day, so about 50%. So we can all do better at improving our fiber intake. And so the peas and beans used in this recipe, along with the whole grain pita, is going to get us closer to that goal. And with that, we'll just head over to the kitchen, see what Jeremy's up to.
Thank you, Daniela. Awesome introduction. Yes, so we're going to jump right into the first recipe. And it's spring, right? So that was sort of our inspiration for this, using some of the bright and fresh ingredients that, especially in Canada, it depends on where you're tuning in from. You might have fresh produce all year round. We don't. So this is the exciting, very, very exciting time for us where we're starting to see a little bit more green, definitely, the trees budding, and in the grocery store, some more local produce, right? That is definitely, seasonal dependent. So things like peas and some of the fresh beans and dandelions and some of the greens that you love, you'll start to see, depending on where you are, you probably start to see it closer to end of April, May, depending on what it is. But definitely an opportunity to use some of those fresh, bright ingredients. And this is one of my favorite dishes that I like to prep a big batch of and keep it in the fridge, and then I'll just use it over the next few days in a few different dishes, a few different meals. So what I like to do is take any fresh herbs, and with this, we're using some parsley. I have some mint in there as well. You can throw in cilantro, you can throw in basil, any of those fresh leafy herbs would be fantastic. And we're going to give them a really, really nice chop. Now, usually when you buy herbs, they come in these big bunches. What do I you know, how I'm gonna use all this, I only need a couple tablespoons. Well, this is a nice way to just use it all up. And then you can, you know, if you need a couple tablespoons for a soup or, you know, whatever you need, you can use it throughout the few days, or you can even freeze it. And I'll show you how to do that as well for longer storage. So best way to do this is by knife. So taking your mint, and I have my parsley here, you know, washed really well and just wrapped it up with a little paper towel. And what you can do is with the mint, you're going to want to pick it off of the stem, because the stem is a little too big for this. With the parsley, I'm going to leave the stem in and just chop through the parsley. So what I'd like to do is try to keep it together in a bundle. That way it's easier to chop. And one way you can do this to make it a little bit easier is you have a little paper towel that's damp. Keep one end of that parsley bundle wrapped up tightly in that paper towel. So you have half of it exposed. And then that way it doesn't sort of keeps it nice and tight. So when you run through it with your knife, so I'm taking my knife here, I'm going to go pretty fine on the stems because I don't want them to be too thick. And slowly retreating with my fingers, keeping them out of the way. By having this paper towel on, I'm able to get through most of that mound of parsley and get a really, really nice chop on it. Now, if you're not super comfortable, that's one way to do it. I find that with a knife, again, you get a nice cleaner cut, and you get less bruising of the herb. If you're not super comfortable with your knife, this is when we're going to lean on some of the equipment. Okay, so food processor. I know you can see like the food chopper. You know, probably all seen the infomercial for that. You can definitely use this. So I'm going to show you the rest of the way using that. Now, I still will, even with a pair of scissors, just chop it into like maybe 3 or 4 manageable mounds. It'll just make it a lot easier for your machine to pulse that down. And then we can go ahead and add that in. Now, the key here is, again, I don't want to run the motor of the food processor for too long. Because as that motor runs, it starts to heat up. And as it heats up, it'll start to discolor your fresh herbs. And you might get excess moisture coming out of it, which I don't want as well. So I just want to use the pulse function and just break it down. It doesn't have to be super fine, but just to a point where it's broken down and it's not discoloring because it's running too much. Okay, so any herbs you want in there, lid on, and just pulp it. Just to break it down. Now, this is a great way to make like a pesto. If I slowly start to add my olive oil in here, I don't want a pesto for this. We're making more of a salad. Just be patient with it. Anything gets stuck, work it down. And I'm starting to see a little bit of moisture come out. So don't want to go too much more. Maybe a couple more passes. And we're good to go. All right. So it still works, but if you feel comfortable using your knife, I prefer the outcome of chopping versus using the processor. And I'll show you the difference. It might be a little hard to see on the camera. You can see one is a little more glossy, glistening a little bit more in the food processor because the blades are a little bit thicker, and the way it's breaking it down, it's causing a little more friction. So you're getting a little bit more moisture come out of it, which is not, again, not the biggest deal in the world, but just to show you the difference there. Okay, so nice fresh parsley mint. I'm going to throw that into a bowl.
And the great thing about the parsley and the mint, we hear a lot about their antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties. So, and it also adds that freshness, I think. And I know we're talking about cancer prevention guidelines, but if people are listening and they're going through treatment and have nausea, the smell of the herbs, especially the parsley and the mint, may be comforting and soothing.
Love that. Okay, it smells really, really nice. Just what you were describing, Daniela. All right, so nice and loose. Lots of that mint, lots of that parsley. Again, you can put some of this aside if you want to save it for other recipes. If you want to save some of it, mix it with some oil, put it in the freezer. You can do that. To this, we're going to start to add some of those other wonderful, fresh spring ingredients. So, green onion or spring onion, sometimes you refer to as. These are great. You can get these all year long, but you'll probably start to see the springtime anyways around, in Ontario anyways, where we are, you'll start to see them at some of the farmers markets, some of the different fresh varieties. And I'm just going to roughly chop this, nothing too small. But when I'm going through the white part of the onion, I'll go a little finer to these small pieces. And then when I get to this, the green part of the onion, I can go a little bit bigger, that like the big chunks, the big pieces. And we're going to add all of that into a nice fresh bites here. Nice little tool to have on hand is this little bench scraper, so you can pick things up, put them in. All right, and then to this, any other spring produce that you would like to add. We're highlighting a few options here. So we have some green peas. I have some edamame, which are really nice. And we have some of the snap peas as well in here. Fava beans are great. Like anything that you want to add to provide a little more texture would be fantastic. But then Daniela, also we're getting some extra nutrition from these ingredients.
Definitely. Yeah. With all those three that you mentioned, you're getting an excellent source of fiber, which we're highlighting in this recipe. But we're also getting a good amount of plant protein. So both of those are wonderful additions. The edamame, right, is like a soybean, a green soybean, an immature soybean. So it actually boasts more folate and vitamin K than the mature soybean. There's a little interesting tidbit.
Love that tidbit. Fantastic edamame tidbit. So you didn't know what you were going to expect today. Love these edamame tidbits. All right, so just added everything in and then just giving it a quick little mix. Definitely regretting this bowl size. Go with the biggest bowl. It's okay, we'll do a little more cleanup afterwards. And once it's nice and combined, I am good to go. So what I like to do with this, I'm making a big batch. We're gonna finish it with some yogurt and a pita, but I don't like to dress it at this point. Okay, so I would store it like this so it's nice and dry. And that way, over the next like 3 days, I would probably go max about 3 days, 4 days in the fridge. I can add this to different salads. I can add this to different soups, and then I would just dress it when I need it. Versus if I added the dressing now, especially if there's an acid in the dressing, it'll just start to break down a little bit quicker. So undressed, stored in the fridge, or what you could do as well is take a little bit of it, mix it in a bowl. Again, just the flavors, like just the aroma of it alone, so fresh. And then we can add some olive oil to this. And then I'll store this mixture in, you can use like ice cube trays, or one of our favorites, the little silicone muffin tins. Let's give that a nice little mixture. And you have this almost like pesto, which is like a French pesto, right? Or This is a beautiful mix of the olive oil, and this will just freeze a lot better. And then you can add this to soups, you can add this to any like slow roasted dishes, or roast chicken or something like that, some fish. It's wonderful, beautiful topping. So, putting in some of that prep work once, and now I'm setting myself up for future dishes. Okay, so put that to the side. We have our salad. We're gonna finish it off this dish with a nice little base of yogurt. We're using some Greek yogurt, so nice thick yogurt for this. A plain yogurt, but I guess you could use any yogurt. It just depends. Some would have higher protein, I guess.
Any yogurt. I would probably, I like the choice of the Greek yogurt because that's adding some more protein to the dish. And we can all use some additional protein in the diet. It helps with building our muscle. Protein can also work with fiber to slow down our digestion, make us feel fuller, so we don't over consume calories if we're trying to manage our portion intake. What about skyr? Skyr an option for this too?
Absolutely, yeah. I love skyr. Yeah, the Icelandic yogurt, another high protein yogurt option.
Definitely, yeah. It's actually more protein than the Greek yogurt.
Yeah, so either will work. Just go for a plain one because we're going to be adding. You don't want to add garlic, which I'm mincing in now, to like a strawberry yogurt or something like that. Might not work the best. So go with a plain, and then we're going to impart our own flavor. So I minced in greater than 1 clove of garlic, and then I'm going to take my lemon, which I wash it really well, and I'm going to take the zest off that lemon. And again, I know citrus really truly isn't seasoned during the winter, but that fresh lemon zest definitely reminds me of spring for sure. And I think it's just, again, a beautiful pairing with the herbs, with the peas, with the edamame there. And it's going to give us this really nice base, the yogurt. All right, so a nice punch of lemon oil in there. We have the minced garlic, plain yogurt, lemon zest, and then do some of the juice as well. Maybe like a couple tablespoons. This is really to taste. If you like a little more of that acidity, a little more of that lemon flavor, go with a little bit more.
I like your technique in getting the seeds from the lemon.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good catch though. Through your thing, and then if you have trouble, either I guess if you're dealing with any like neuropathy issues, or just sometimes these citrus can be really hard to squeeze. You can use a fork in the middle. So putting a fork in the middle, squeezing it around the fork, or you can roll it to soften it up. The third thing is stick it in the microwave for like 5 seconds, and that does an incredible job at softening it and makes it much, much easier to squeeze the juice out of it. So a few tips on how to make the squeeze a little bit easier. All right, a little pinch of salt, and we're gonna go with a little bit of olive oil. So it's almost like we're making like a little dressing here. And just keeping this little mix.
The olive oil adds a nice healthy fat to this dish as well, which is another component of the Mediterranean diet, but the Mediterranean diet is also aligns very nicely with the cancer prevention guidelines.
All right, beautiful. So we have this wonderful, smells amazing. The garlic and the lemon, intoxicating. And then we have the fresh herbs here. So this is really it. We're gonna pair this together, and I'll show you. This is one of my favorite little dishes, like a little snack to have. We have some really nice whole wheat pita here, which you can toast up or you can just have as is. And then if I was like eating this just on my own, I'm just dipping this pita into the yogurt, topping it with some of this fresh salad and really, really nice. It's almost like a bruschetta or a crostini, but with the green freshness. I was plating this up nicely, maybe for the table, maybe for multiple guests. We'll take a nice scoop of that yogurt at the bottom and just spread it around the plate. Okay. And then use tongs or a spoon. I'm going with my hands because it's just me. So I'm gonna pile a bunch of the herbs and the peas, the edamame, way up high. I take my pita right on the side here. Serve with it. Do a few. This, and then just a little bit more touch of olive oil on top. And there
Beautiful.
you have it.
So good. Can't wait till you can get it to me through the computer.
Yes, absolutely. I'll show you quickly how I would serve this up to. Using a spoon, grabbing some of the yogurt, some of the herbs. And then just like this beautiful, wonderful little bite of that freshness, again, that brightness from the herbs, the lemon, and then that little bit of heat that's going to come through with the garlic. Just really, really well balanced. So nice little plate there for our first dish.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love how you use the whole grain pita because cancer prevention guidelines do recommend that we make half of our grain intake whole grain. And so that's about 3 servings per day. And just a note about when you're looking at the nutrition label or the ingredients on the package, look for whole grain, whole wheat pita. Okay, that was great.